Perfect. All right, let me slide this back out of the way. All right, so welcome to today. I'm glad that you guys are all here, and I'm really hoping for some engagement at the end. That way you guys can ask your questions, because as much as I might have to share, I know that this journey is really personal to each and every one of you. So I have Cheryl here with me, and she's going to go ahead and kick us off. All right, I don't think Cheryl is working. I cannot hear her. All right, so she might be having some technical difficulties behind the scenes. So I will just introduce you. Cheryl is our student success coordinator, and she's been working with us after a long career working as a in a medical aesthetics practice. She was there for 13 years as the manager, and now she comes to join us because she's just looking for that next generation or the next step in her path. So when you guys go ahead and email us or give us a call, she's going to be the person that you guys have that first point of contact with. This keeps popping up. Sorry about that. All right, my name is Tara Delakai. I'm doctorally prepared. I am the founder of DCCM Academy, Delakai Cosmetic Medicine, Delakai Concierge Medicine, and TDC Realty. All of those businesses really do work well together to kind of keep the whole bigger picture running. My few of my other disclosures are I am a national allergen trainer. I'm also an international key opinion leader for Candela. I am an MD Codes trainer. I am a published author and the editor for the Journal of Clinical Aesthetic Dermatology, and my doctoral work was in evidence-based management of avascular occlusion. I really do just love this profession as a whole and how I can help providers be safe as well as keep the patients safe. So after today, what I'm hoping that you'll have is an understanding of the opportunity that does exist in aesthetic medicine and truly what it takes to succeed, not just in aesthetic medicine, but how students can take their best pathway. And then I'll show you all of the ways in which you can elevate and continue to experience multiple different facets. So many of you are here because you're interested in aesthetic medicine, and it's probably coming from something like burnout, or you've cared for the patients, you loved caring for patients. However, at some point, we end up just being burnt out. The systems fail us in our traditional medicine program. So we are able to turn that around in aesthetic medicine. So if any of these points hit home, then you are definitely in the right spot. So I have been exactly where you are. I started my business with a hope and a dream. I spent 18 years in emergency medicine. I was raising 3 kiddos, and I decided to just take a complete leap of faith. I left institutional medicine and I went ahead and I opened up a medical spa. That was couple, maybe 2 decades ago when I got into this profession. And it was so young at that point. It's still young. However, it was even younger. So I was really up against a lot of things that I just didn't know and the profession didn't know. So there was a lot to be learned. And my first complication is what made me realize that I was underprepared to be in the profession that I was in, and that it was time for me to make a change so that nobody else had to suffer through that. So I built the training academy that I wish I had when I started. Every one of my lessons is always a lesson that I have learned the hard way, and I always want to share that, pay that forward so that none of my fellow colleagues have to do that. So this is just a couple of pictures so you can see that's little me with my first diploma. Who knew I would love academics as much as I do, and then these are my boys. So the DCCM Academy philosophy, our philosophy is safety. It's always our priority. We want patients to be safe and we want our providers to be safe as well. Our students are our colleagues. They're never our competition. We teach you the right way, not the shortcut out of the gate. We are here for you even after the course is over, and that's something that you're not going to find in many other training academies. We also teach you to anticipate, recognize, and respond appropriately to varying events. We don't just teach you how to inject, we make sure you understand your why as well as your how. We also encourage legally sourced products, and we're able to help you gather those and stay compliant. So at each and every course, we do discuss anatomy at length in great detail. We also really take some time and we focus on the assessment because again, you can learn how to inject, but why am I going to inject there? And what are certain features of the face that might lead you down a different path or a different treatment plan? We also teach you how to communicate with your patients. This is something, it's a cash-based field, so it can be a little unnerving when we're developing these treatment plans. As providers, we've never had to have that money conversation. So we do have a lot of emphasis, and we help build your confidence so that you can feel good about communicating the treatment plan as well as the price. We do talk a lot about the business acumen. I want you to be real savvy entrepreneurs, and I want you to be super successful. My programs are all heavily weighted in compliance, and we also have compliance packages as well that can help you all grow and make sure that you're staying compliant with your scope of practice with the Board of Medicine and the Board of Nursing. And mentorship, that's a part of each and every course and something that I feel really strongly about, because after you're done any course, you will not have developed mastery. You'll just know just enough to still be excited and want to get in it, but you'll need somebody there to help guide you and support you. And that's something that we offer. I love this video because it really just demonstrates when you're training with me, my hands are with your hands. I am there for you, and I'm going to help you get safe and feel really confident. We're always small groups. It might be a bigger didactic section, but then once we come down, we want to make sure that those groups are really small. So it's one instructor for every 4 students, and only one student goes at a time. So all the other students can watch and learn from each little adaptation that that particular student makes. We always have live patient models, and we make sure that those models are really, they're appropriate. They're not overfilled. We turn them down if necessary, but we do guarantee our models. I give real-time feedback, and that correction is right there in the moment. So a career in medical aesthetics, it is much different than your traditional program. You're going to have flexible schedules, however, you're still on call because this is medicine and you want to make sure that you're there for your patients. You have the option to own your own practice, which is also something, which is very exciting. And we can expand services and have a higher value treatment plans. And it's just something so different than what we see at the bedside in traditional care. And finally, earnings that really reflect your skill. So why is aesthetic medicine so exciting, and why is it a good, safe transition to leave that like normal, 9-to-5 job? 9.9 million people took neuromodulation injections such as Botox or Dysport in 2024. 7 million had hyaluronic acid dermal filler treatments. 3.7 million, this is just in the US, had skin resurfacing lasers. And rising is, we have so many new treatments on the horizon. So more than $28.5 million was spent on minimally invasive procedures. This profession is here to stay. So if you're thinking, geez, I'm not sure, should I, is it risky? It's not risky. This profession is here to stay, and it's a good choice. It's a softer side of medicine, but it's still medicine. And so when we're talking about it, like, it can feel overwhelming. What does this look like? If you just add 1 client per week to your regular schedule and you do a minimum of 40 units, however, the average is 64, that brings you in $31,000. If you go up to 64 units, which is more than norm, that's going to be $50,000 in extra income for you. And then at 100 units, which would include in between the eyes, the forehead, the crow's feet, and the neck, that's looking at bringing you in $78,000. So what a nice little additional revenue stream for yourself. And then you can see here, as you move to 10 clients and 20 clients, just with Botox alone at 20 clients with 100 units per patient. That's $1.5 million. That is not bad. And you can see just at that 64 units, it's just under $1 million. So really there's a lot of opportunity, but you do want to make sure that you're doing it right. There's a lot of medical spas that are present right now, but not all of them are doing it right. And that's something that I will work with you and make sure that you know how to do it right. And that's what's going to set you apart. And then so the reality of revenue for filler. One client with just lips can bring you 41,000, and mid-face correction, which is about 3 syringes laterally, medially, and then in that preauricular space, that can add in roughly 125,000 per year into your practice or into your existing clinic, wherever you are operating out of. And then if you have 10 clients, that's $500,000 and just over $1 million. So you can really see that if this is done well, there's a lot of money to be made. However, this is gross, not net, so you would need to take your operating costs and your cost of goods out of these numbers as well. I know we're talking about money, but all of these plans and all of these dosings is truly based on making what is the best decision for the patient. So it's not just do max number of units. We know that studies have shown what it takes to refill the lateral, the medial cheek, and the preauricular space. And that's where that number 3 comes from. So even though we're talking about numbers, it's truly rooted in a holistic treatment plan. And so we need to be thoughtful. You know, many of us, we have children, we're raising families, we have bills to pay. So when you make an investment in your education, we want to look at how quickly can you recoup that investment. So if you're just doing Botox at 40 units, that's the lower range, you only need 4 clients to recoup your tuition. With lips, you only need 3 clients. And if you do mid-face correction with your hyaluronic acid filler, you only need 1 client to recoup that educational fund. So you can very easily turn your educational funds back into profit and revenue. And I do want to make one call out here. When we're talking about education, once you get into this profession, Instagram and social media can really lead you down a rabbit hole and feeling like, I need to train on this, I need to train on this, I need to offer that. And I would say stay in your lane, just really stick to the path of neurotoxin and filler and good quality facial assessments. That is really such a great foundational starting point. Don't feel like you have to go down that rabbit hole of offering everything that everybody else offers. Again, it's okay to be different. So I want to take a minute just on celebrating some of the students. And, you know, this section is to celebrate them because I think they're amazing and I'm extremely proud of them. But this next section, it demonstrates to you that after you take my course, I'm not going to drop you. I truly do want to partner with you. One of my success stories is Stephanie McPherson. She went from student to owner to educator, and I just love her path. She has been so dedicated to growing herself and informing herself at every capacity. She's not afraid to ask a question. And I have watched her grow, and I'm just so proud of her and seeing what she has invested in herself and seeing the beauty that has come out of it. So she's the owner of Peak Aesthetics. She has quickly grown to a team of 5. She has already outgrown her first space, and now she teaches with me, and I bring her along to any of the main stage events that I'm speaking at or injecting at, and she is my assistant on stage. She knows exactly how I operate. She injects the same way I do, so she's just a blessing to have beside me. She also comes to my conferences and she's worked the booths for me, so I'm just really proud to show her. Oops, hold on, I have somebody in my lobby. So I'm just, oops, sorry, let me back up. Hold on, not too fast. Here we go. So truly, I'm not just teaching people, I am helping to develop the next generation of leaders. And then, so just a few more success stories. We have Penobscot Penobscot Medical in there in Bangor, Maine. She actually took one of my very, very first academies, and it was an aesthetic immersion program. She took all of the courses, and then she quickly went in to open up her own business, and we are still in contact today. We still communicate, and now she trusts me with training her entire team. LF Medical is another one of my students. She began with the level 1 training masterclass, and she took some private trainings. She did our residency. Stephanie also did our residency program, and now she owns her own practice as well, and she has also assisted me in trainings. And then Skin by Kara, she's another really unique story. She actually has multiple locations now, and I just went back and trained some of her new team. So I love how these relationships, they grow and they nurture and they continue to blossom year after year. So every single one of these practices is individually owned. They did not have funding or backing. They had their hope, they had their dream, and what stood out about them is they all invested in their education to make sure that they were really delivering the best of care, and it has shown by their growth and their success. And here is one last little moment just so you guys can get a sense of who I am and how I could help you nurture your aesthetic career.
My name is Dane Slentz. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist and oculoplastic surgeon from New Hampshire. As an oculoplastic surgeon, I'm an expert in the eyes and the face. However, I think it's important to continue the education that I already have and finesse upon the skills throughout life. And Tara she's well published. She's an expert in the field. She has textbooks. And she has basically a wonderfully built practice, and patients are all happy. You can see that from the reviews that she has. So that's really why I wanted to come to this course today. So she can actually guide me through how she assesses a patient. It's really important to have that feedback in real time to see how she might do things a little bit differently, because it's all about patient care and having the most successful outcomes. And I think that was the most important thing that I learned today. The thing I liked about this course is it's more intimate, it's more hands-on. And the questions I can have can be readily answered, and she can show in person with models why she might do things a little bit differently. So that critique has been super helpful in helping me finesse those skills. I would highly recommend this course to anybody who is interested in advancing their skills in aesthetic procedures. I feel like she has done a wonderful job at explaining all the minute details at any level. Both someone who's never injected before to people who've injected multiple times, or even somebody who's as part of their routine practice. To seeing the mindset that she has and the ability to pick up on those small details has been really important in advancing my skills. My name is Dane Slentz.
All right, so now for the good stuff. I imagine you guys are all ready. Where do I start? How do I start? What's my first course? What is the clinical pathway? So here we are on our roadmap to success. So what makes a great student? The curiosity. You're all here now. You're curious. That's amazing. The next step is that commitment to yourself and to the education, and making sure that you have the right foundation. And that's where I come into play to make sure that I'm giving you that foundation so that you have a strong footing to move forward. There's a lot to aesthetic medicine. There's a lot of opportunity, but we have found this path of starting with neurotoxin, then moving to structural dermal filler, then specializing in a more unique opportunity, and that's lips alone. And then we tie it all together with really digging into facial anatomy and assessment. We go through this period where we'll go through consultations and developing treatment plans with all those skills that you just learned. And how do we develop a good quality treatment plan that's holistic and addressing all of these arms that we have as opportunities? So your level 1 cosmetic neurotoxin, and we do have multiple levels of the cosmetic neurotoxin. It's 1 through 5. So always you want to start with level 1. And this really, it's a fully immersive program. We do have a hybrid option, so you can take your didactic just online, or you can come fully in person. But the hands-on clinical, that's always in person at the practice. So we go through the facial anatomy, we go through the anatomy that you will be injecting, and also the anatomy that is in the area that wants to be avoided. So we talk about those creating safe injection zones. We will go through the reconstitution and the dosing fundamentals and how dose does equal duration. So we're really setting you up for that minutia of detail that will help you just really stand apart and feel really good when you have your first patient. The treatment mapping and technique execution, the way I teach is I will even help figure out how you stand, how you think, and how you learn, and I will help position the needle or the syringe in your hand so that you can be most comfortable delivering it, and also the patient will feel comfortable. We will talk about complications, not just how to manage them, but every way I teach is to make sure that we're preventing them. So that way we don't have to have those worried phone calls. We always want natural patient-centered outcomes, and that's really where that assessment comes in and making sure that we understand the appropriate placement. So what's included with your neurotoxin course? You will have that live didactic lecture, or you have the opportunity to do it at home online. We have hands-on training, which is 6 hours with live patient models. We'll do one model at a time, and again, there's one instructor to every 4 students, so there'll be 3 observers while one's injecting, and then we break off into different rooms so that it's a little bit more intimate and the questions can be really personal within that moment. We have products that is granted from Allergan, so all of that product is embedded within, and we don't have to worry about having you add that onto your pricing. We do have complimentary hard-covered textbooks, which is a part of each and every program, and you go home with this because once you have your first patient, you're going to have some jitters, you're going to have some questions, and all the answers to those questions live in that textbook, so that will be your Botox Bible. We do offer 10 CEU credits over the 10-hour program, so that includes the didactic and the clinical, and there are pharmacology hours included in that. And it's both for nurses, PAs, NPs, MDs, DOs, and dentists. So we cover everybody and anybody. Each and every course is taught by a licensed, actively practicing provider with unencumbered licenses. And this I didn't think would be a standard that wasn't met, but I recently went to a seminar and the presenter had been a provider, but they've lost their license and they do have a record now, and they were still up there teaching on how to live inject, and that really kind of shocked me. So, if it's not with me that you're learning, just really make sure you are asking the questions of, is this accredited? Is this a licensed provider? Do they have an active unencumbered license? Those are important things for us to know. And it's unfortunate that we have to ask those questions, but we do. And then what happens after is you do have 2 months worth of post-course mentorship. And this is just such a magical opportunity because this is where you get to mark up patient faces, and then we have our phone call and I can say, yes, this injection works. This one might be a little bit too low. This one might be a little too high. And I share with you why that would maybe not be the best appropriate. And we have 2 of those phone calls. And I find that offers you guys a lot of comfort and it keeps us connected as well. We've at these phone calls also gone over contracts and job positioning, where you might want to go, where you shouldn't go based on your personality. So there's a lot of opportunity and it's not just limited to clinical questions. And then the dermal filler, much of all of that is same. You will have, still your didactic lecture, your hands-on. We're going to have the product included. We include models for you. Again, 10 more CE credits, 10-hour program, 6 hours of live hands-on, and again, 2 months of that post-course mentorship. What we really focus on in the dermal filler program is, again, going over facial anatomy, understanding the aging phase. We also talk about the rheological characteristics of each and every product. We want you to understand, we don't want you to just grab any old product off the shelf. We want you to understand exactly which product you need for which area and the goal. We talk about volume restoration and contouring fundamentals. We also will share with you how to use a needle and how to use a cannula So we don't just start needle and then move you in. You can have the opportunity to learn both techniques, as I think they're both really important. As scary as it might be, there is adverse events that can happen with these treatments. So we will go over vascular safety, complication, how to prevent it, and also how to manage it. And we will talk about the policies, the protocols, having flow charts in office, all of those things, making sure that you're buttoned up and feeling good. In lip filler, I used to have lip filler embedded within the dermal filler program, but what I found, it was too much all at once, and it needed to be compartmentalized. The lips are such a special space, and really it's the only place in the whole face where one syringe can have a really big impact. This is an area that is higher adverse event rate, so that's why I separated it for it to be its own course. And again, you still get the live models, you get the products included, again, 10 more CEs, you do get those pharmacology hours, and 2 more months of post-course mentorship. And then this is the course that I really have the best time in. And it's because you are now understand how to inject the neurotoxin, you understand how to inject the mid-upper face from a structural standpoint. You now have your hands on being able to do lips. And then we take an entire day and all we do is just develop treatment plans on every single model. So there's no live injections that day, but it's all hands-on facial assessment. So we're talking about what we're seeing in the patient's aging process, and then we're able to develop a treatment plan, and you'll go home with my actual consult packet. That way you can practice those consults and you can embed it into your practice as well, because they are really nice to just have so that you can go through and your thoughts are all organized. Like, let's look at the skin first. Now let's look at the patient from a muscular issue. Then let's look at the patient from a volume perspective. And then let's tie it all together with a year-long treatment plan. So our educational process, what we do first is we make sure that there is a pretest. Let's, don't Google, it's okay to get a 0 on it because no one is taught facial anatomy in nursing school. It's barely taught in any program. So we do want to just see where you're at. We go through all of the anatomy of the face and understanding. We even have product questions in there. And that's, I know we all are type A and we all want an A, but let this one truly just be like, if it's a 0, it's a 0. If it's a 30, it's a 30. We're not judging. We're just setting a baseline so that we can see if after the course you have grown and learned. So then we have our didactic portion, and as I said earlier, we can do that hybrid or in person, whichever fits your life. I'm much better in person. I get all distracted when I'm online, so I'm better in person, but we do have the hybrid option. You have your hardcover textbook. This is just an example of the dermal filler manual that you'll get. And then we have your guaranteed 2 full face models. They're never shared. We don't split a lip between 4 students. Your lip is your lip. I don't like that sharing plan. I think it takes away from your learning opportunity. And then we make sure that you're able to go through the product selection, the treatment plan, the consultation, and we also will talk about how to follow up with your patient. What should that look like? We'll go through all of that aftercare so that you can begin having that competence and confidence. Then when you're all done with each course, we do have you take a post-test, and that's really looking at us measure, did you show growth? Were you able to acquire new information that is succinct for moving forward? So a couple responsibilities as a provider and a student, and I put this up there because I don't, yes, I'd love for you to train with me, but I understand, timing or location might be of concern. So I put this up here just so that you know the questions to ask. Like I had said before, make sure that the instructor is actively licensed, their license is unencumbered. There is a medical director if the instructor is not an independent practitioner, so that way you can be covered under their license. And you want to make sure that you have insurance and the training academy has insurance. With your insurance, you do want to call your carrier and specifically ask if they have coverage for aesthetic medicine. You do need to list out that it will be neurotoxins and filler. This isn't just a given because it's something that you can perform. It is an extra rider, and typically you have to pay a little bit extra for that depending on your license. So just make sure that you do have proper insurance coverage before you go ahead to the training course, and make sure that the training course has insurance coverage as well. Document everything always, even in your trainings. Make sure that an informed consent was signed. If you're injecting them, make sure that consent was signed. Make sure that the clinical notes are done and that before and after photos are done of every single patient in good lighting with hair back, earrings off, so that you can truly see the magic of the results. You always want to make sure that when you're in practice or when you're training, that you have adverse event readiness, making sure that there's reversal agents and emergency protocols on hand and the supplies are in the house. We also want to make sure that we know how to recognize and respond. And that's where that mentorship piece, again, I keep coming back to that, but it's so important to have a buddy system, because when you have an adverse event, you do get hung up in your head a little bit and you're coming at it from just this like visceral emotional state, whereas another provider can just be very clinical because they're emotionally removed from the situation. So they can just look at it and offer just a different insight. For every single license that's out there in every single state, make sure you understand your scope of practice. Not all states allow RNs to inject, while some states you don't have to be a license of anything to inject. So understanding your state scope of practice is important. Knowing that a good faith exam has to happen. We can't be doing this without just the normal standard linear path of care. There's a lot of opportunity for people to be grabbing at illegally sourced product, or they'll be like funneling it from fillersusa.com, and it's not fillers from the USA. You only want to be buying product from legally sourced companies. So if you're buying Galderma products, you're going to be buying it from Galderma. If you're buying Allergan products such as Botox or Juvederm, you're only buying it from Allergan. If you're buying it from any other source, you're risking your license, both through the Board of Nursing or Board of Medicine and the Board of Pharmacy. And then making sure that after you're done training, you do have that support. How are you going to continue your education and your mentorship after? So truly, we are here to grow with you. I love when my students, all of a sudden everybody's starting to share their contact information, and there's been so many relationships that have blossomed and come together, and it's really neat to see those come together. But that's really where you start that community and that growth, because you will have questions. Not any one person has all the right answers. So that's why it's nice to go it with a group instead of alone. I also will personally help each and every student get a job. We are really looking to get you connected, and I take a lot of time to understand your personality, your approach, what you need as a learner, and I make sure that that's the environment I try and place you in. So I'm very well connected with my Allergan reps that have a much broader reach than I do. And that's where I've been instrumental in getting students placed with a good community and culture match. And then what Cheryl just recently did is she actually helped one of our students with their cover letter and their resume. So truly our team is here for you, not just to teach you how to inject and cash the check and leave. We want to see you grow. That's really where our hearts and our cups are filled. So why DCCM? Those small groups, that 1-to-4 ratio is so important to me. And I learned in the big hotel setting. I think there was 100 and something of us. There was 2 instructors for all of us. I was signed off on filler after I had injected 1 small stripe in the upper lip. And then I was considered signed off for filler. I had never touched the cheeks, never touched a nasal labial fold, and considered certified. I injected 0.1 milliliter of bacteriostatic saline in the right upper forehead, and I was considered certified for neuromodulation. That is what I started with. I also never knew that there was Hylenex. I never knew that there was could be an adverse event in either one of those specialties. So I had a steep learning curve after my training, and that's something that I don't ever want anybody else to have to go through. We always use premium legally sourced products. You have a hardcover manual for every course that you take, and then that mentorship for the next 2 months. We just recently had a student, and she was struggling trying to find a job. And so during one of her mentorships, she called and we talked about where she had applied, and I told her personality wise, cross off this and that. I'd try these again, and I gave her some tips, and now she is happily employed at Seaport Med Spa. And that was just, it was such a great connection. And I had just been in their clinic training, and I said, I have the perfect person for you. So compliance and coverage, we have 10 hours, 10 CEU credits, and I am fully licensed, unencumbered, and insured, actively practicing provider. We want to make sure that you know your scope of practice and what the boards will expect, and we are accredited, and that comes at a really high standard. And when you're getting your insurance, you can certainly purchase any insurance. However, if it comes down to a malpractice or litigation issue, without having CE formal training on record, you actually they won't cover you, because there is a small little clause in the coverage that says anything that you are performing outside of the traditional nursing education, you must have CE training for. And that's why we really did put a priority on making sure that I was able to get all of the courses accredited so that we can offer that CE so that you are compliant with your insurance carrier. And then also just makes it easier for us to renew that license. So we are a 10-hour program. The majority of the programs that are out there are typically combined. You'll have a 6-hour day or an 8-hour day, and it's a combination of Botox and filler. That doesn't work for me. I don't feel like the students or the learners get enough. I've proctored many of those courses, and I do feel that even myself, it's overwhelming. It feels jam-packed, and I don't feel like I truly master or gather good enough knowledge to go ahead and competently employ the techniques that I had just learned. And we have had several providers come to us. Oh, sorry, I keep messing with the little button and it's so touch sensitive. We've had a lot of providers that have gone to these courses, maybe cost was an issue or location, it was better. And they actually end up coming back to us, or not back to us, they find us and they retake our entire level 1 program. And they have found, because their initial, that 6-hour combined course just wasn't enough. So they knew enough to know that they still needed something more. And that's been really satisfying to see them blossom and grow and gather the confidence. Oftentimes, where you might have to share a model or you have to bring your own model, that can be challenging. Whereas if you're coming to us, we guarantee a minimum of 2 models per treatment area, and we guarantee full treatment plans will be completed. And we make sure that those models are really buttoned up. We don't want you to be shortchanged, and we don't want to compromise patient safety. And we are 1 to 4, where, I shared with you my experience. It was just tended to be larger groups. The printed handout of the PowerPoint is often what you'll get at courses. And for us, we make sure that we have your hard-covered manuals, and they are authored by me and they're all published. So it's a really nice resource. And I go in through the nitty-gritty, all of the details there. So we have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, all the way up to level 5. And we support and complement all of these levels with mentorship, residencies. A residency is when you can come into the clinic and you spend 6 months with us, and you come twice a month. And at the end of 3 months, you have a 1-hour mini private training. And at the end of 6 months, you have another 1-hour mini private training. I'm creating memberships as well, which is something that we should be launching soon. And I'm excited for that. It's going to offer anybody an additional discount. And just that way you can really explore our entire offerings. And then, of course, I always offer adverse event support, because we know that that's tied to patient care. And that's something I'll always pick up the phone for. So your core certification should really start with neurotoxin, then dermal filler, then lip filler, your facial anatomy and assessment. We also have all of those 4 bundled into an aesthetic immersion training program where you'll come for 4 days, and they're all back to back to back. And then as you advance on, we have advanced group trainings, level 2 and up. And then we also have private trainings. It's just you and I in 4 hours, and we'll train on whatever you want to train on. It's really catered special to you. I can come to you or you can come to my clinic. We have Kybella and biostimulation courses. We have microneedling and cannula courses. I'll teach laser as well, whatever laser you have. And I'm so close to finishing my adverse event management course. I ended up having to break it out because it was so big. We have it on neurotoxin, on fillers, on lasers, and biostimulations. So I'm excited for that to launch. And then we have the 6-month fellowship program. 6-month fellowship program is much like the residency, minus the compliance package and minus the 1-hour trainings that you get. And we also have just the observation and shadow days where you don't have to commit to the 6 months. Just, you want to see our flow and our operations and see what it's like, just watch the consultations. You can certainly do that as well. We also will focus heavily, if this is what you'd like, if you're opening up your own business, I will work with you on business development and planning and really focusing on what your team needs to do to succeed to make sure that your business stays moving and thriving. We have textbooks, we have compliance packages, and we have a special aesthetic mastery group, which we're working on. And we are going to be having case studies. So it's almost like grand rounds for all of us to bring in cases. Maybe you saw something online, or maybe it's a patient that you actually had, and we'll be able to have grand rounds and go through all of those cases together. Our next in-person dates, we have August 20th available and August 15th, and those are all your level 1s. If anybody is on this call and is looking for a higher level, certainly reach out to us and we can help you choose a date. So just imagine yourself 1 year from today and you have a whole different outlook, a whole different career. Here's where you begin to build something that is just for you. And just know, I will always walk alongside with you. I'm never going to leave you alone. Once you are partnered with us, you are a part of our family for life. And I honor and stand behind that statement. I just want to give you a couple little codes if you are interested in training with us. So we are offering for any of the attendees 20% off the entire series, and that's all 4 courses. And that's 20% off, and it's June Masterclass. And you're also going to get a complimentary shadow day, which is valued at $1,500 for joining today and signing up. And for those that are not ready to take the full master course, maybe you are already in neurotoxin but want to do filler or just want to focus on that assessment, you can certainly take any of the individual level 1 courses, and we're offering 10%. Your code will be June level 1. And anybody that's already practicing, if you'd like to have any of those compliance resources, we're offering 30% off of any of our digital downloads, and that code's June 30. And here is your QR code. You can scan right to our website and you can visit all of those course offerings, and you can get to the shopping cart and enter in those codes. So now my technology challenge self, let's see if I can't get this back up. And I am going to pop into the chat. Does anybody have any questions for us? Oh, I see. Okay, we have somebody typing. Bear with us. All right, so we had a thank you. You are very welcome. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions or comments or concerns. I am absolutely here for you. And this can almost be like a learn by funnel at first. It feels a little fast and furious, but we always make sure that we do a success phone call if you're worried. So you don't just have to go onto the website and log in and enroll immediately. You can absolutely just set up a success call. We can talk to you about what is your best path, what are you thinking, what's the reality of your timeline, and we want to make sure that we're not just putting you in a course and letting you fly. We want to make sure that we've got you covered and you're set up to, get into a place right away. All right, so yes, we have recommendations for accommodations. You bet. And we once you register, we give you an entire list of our favorite hotels in the area, our favorite food and beverages, and if you're looking for entertainment, we also have that in our email as well. Okay. If anybody doesn't have any more questions, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. And you can certainly ask your questions. And if you are more of a private person, feel free to email us. It's info@dccmacademy.com. And I'm actually going to put that in the little chat right now. There. That should be in the chat. And that way, if you have any more private questions that you want to ask, we're certainly happy to help. All right, looks like one more person is typing. All right, everybody. Well, I won't keep you. Have an amazing day, and hopefully I get the opportunity to work with you, learn with you, grow with you. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.